am I gonna do when I get a little excited?
So I get that having hallucinations is not sexy, it's not desirable, it's not something that people seek out at all. Even though that, we might go to a scary movie, we don't want hallucinations in our everyday life. But what I can share is a perspective on how to work through those. So as a kid, it's so interesting to take a look back. I remember in high school, there was a movie called Waking Life. Very interesting. It was animated and just on the topic, a lot of different psychological topics. It was very touching because that was the first realization that, oh, I potentially will have, schizophrenia. It kind of felt close to, this diagnosis of schizophrenia just because mainly because it explained kind of the experiences that I had up to that point. Now, I never had any hallucinations that were, I would even consider hallucinations. It was more just kind of dream related. I recognize so much that in a dream state, there's so much to learn about hallucinations. And it's just very interesting that I related to that. But I also related to the fact that, oh, I potentially at some point in my life might have schizophrenia or something similar. I technically do not have schizophrenia, but I do have schizoaffective disorder, which is basically right between bipolar and schizophrenia. I have manic highs that have psychotic features that are, I would consider, equally challenging to the psychotic features of schizophrenia. I think one benefit that I potentially have, but and in mental illness, it challenges people in so many different ways. It can take away, like for me, it has not taken away my faculty of like knowing where I'm at, knowing what my mind is doing, and that's the best gift that I have. And that, it's the driving force between like, hey, I'm able to share with you guys, very incredible, stories that a lot of people with severe mental illness aren't able to share. So I just feel like it's a gift to have experienced and probably will continue to experience massive amounts of psychosis in my life and relate to other people, and why it's helpful. Just in the last couple of years, I've always thought, oh, like what I know about psychosis actually can really help people, especially if they ever were diagnosed with Alzheimer's, which is kind of a catastrophic ending to most people's lives. There is a large period there where between potentially diagnosis and passing away, but where it's useful is with Alzheimer's, that's the first psychosis that person ever had, and it's at the end of their life. So it's just so hard to put a framework around that psychosis. It's so hard to build skills to make things less traumatic. And I do know with deep psychosis is that most that kind of takes care of itself. Is that, oh, you can't do very much, so like if you're in the state hospital, but still, there's still people in the state hospital, out on the streets, undiagnosed, meds not working, where they're having psychosis, and it's wrecking their life. It's not pretty. And that's where I feel that I have something to offer, because I have sometimes anecdotal evidence or anecdotal things that I can share that I still think is very valuable. It's very valuable to know that, oh, hey, I can do one small thing. I can, whether it's lowering your expectations, being okay with that. Kind of my top 10 list for mental illness is kind of realizing where you're at, letting mental illness change your life, knowing that you'll have to say no to a lot of things, really lowering that bar and then being accepting of like what the environment is. And I know with psychosis, a lot of those things kind of just take care of themselves, but I know it's difficult. It's just like trying to wake up from a bad dream. That might be hard enough. But for me, I worked on, as a kid, having night terrors from kindergarten on, where they were so devastating I would be terrified to even begin to go to sleep, because within the first 30 minutes, the second I hit that REM sleep, it is some of the most terrifying moments of my life, actually. It is on par, night terrors, to where, the psychosis that I had in magnitude. But dreams, you have that realization that you can wake up. The challenge with psychosis is that, what do you have to wake up to? and you get the paranoia that you actually need to wake up from life into something else, whether you call it death or, if you have psychosis, you get instant paranoia that your reality is actually like you need to wake up from that, or feels completely foreign. I mean, that makes having a bad dream at night and recognizing you're having a bad dream, that's easier. But as a starting point, working through night terrors, I would learn just to wake up. And I did that for years. And then once middle school, high school, kind of learned a little bit more that, hey, I can, when I'm running around that corner and I know I'm going to see something, then see it. What do you see? If I knew I was going to run into the boogeyman or something, like, what does his face look like? So you get these images. So I would actually go all the way through them, or see them, and then what? Having your body torn into, having your psyche just ripped apart in a dream. So at least kind of knowing you're dreaming, you're going to get scared, but then what? Seeing that next thing. So very practically, I would just run around the corner, see there's something terrifying, stay with it, and then kind of evolve into a different aspect of the dream. And then 5 to 10 seconds later, bam, crescendo again, and have another something scary that I would also have to work through. I employ that technique to this day. That's a strategy. I learned a skill there. I definitely know a lot of people don't look at psychosis as something that you can build skill with. It's there. It's just very, very difficult. Like that took years to be able to go through crescendo of bad dreams. Kind of shared a psychosis tonight with just, seeing something that I, have seen before. And even to, work through it. It would be an impossibility to have a bad dream and say, oh, I'm going to pretend like it's flowers as your psyche is getting ripped into two. So there are some things that are beyond attaining. For me, I'll get the hairs on the back of my neck to stand on end. I think we all get that at some point. And that's why it's relatable. So when you get the hairs on the back of your neck to wake you up when you're already awake, then what?